Welcome to Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. In today's episode, we have two special guests. We got Michael Veazey, the owner of AmazingFBA.com. Michael helps 6 to 8 figure Amazon business owners to scale and to sell their businesses. And we got Jason Miles. Jason is an author, a publisher, and an entrepreneur from the Seattle area. One more thing, if you enjoy our content, hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Thank you and enjoy. Thank you for making it today to the Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Happy to have you here, Jason. Happy to have you here, Michael. Let's jump right into it. Where are you both located at the moment? Let's start with Michael.
Okay, well, I'm in London, England, which I always delight in saying because I don't know where anywhere else London would be, but America's good at copying British city names. But the original, and I think best, but as Jason said, it tends to rain here a lot. It's actually sunny here, so I'm incredibly happy about that and delighted to be on the show.
Okay, great to hear. Jason, where are you at?
I'm in Seattle, Washington, so United States, yeah. And it's an honor to be here. I live technically, it's about 35 minutes south of Seattle, so not downtown, but it's close enough. So.
Oh, that sounds really awesome. So we have the States and we have England in the house. So yeah, let's see what we can find for because you are both entrepreneurs. You both have an amazing resume. You've done a lot of things, and I'm sure we can. You can share a lot with the audience how to do it better even. And yeah, let's break down a little bit from your early beginnings. So when you went to school, let's begin with Michael. When you went to school, where did you go to school? Did you go to school in the normal school in London? What was about the time, or did you were you homeschooled, or how was this going in the early beginnings?
Nothing special in a lot of ways. I grew up actually in, I guess, what you call the provinces in Britain, which means anywhere outside London. So there was nothing special about my schooling at all. I did not, unlike, say, Jeff Bezos, go to a special school for special, bright people or something. I was in a pretty nice part of the world in Gloucester, which is a very old city, about an hour west of London. It's what we call the provinces, which means everything outside London, which is a strange way that Britain sees the world. It is London, everything outside London and England, then the rest of the world. So I guess my school was only exceptional for one thing, which was music. So I got very, very into music and sort of that kind of communal way of doing things, really. But other than that, I'm afraid I did not have a lemonade stand when I was 5 years old. I showed no earlier signs of being a business genius, I'm afraid.
The old story, I know. So, but we have already something which means creative. Music is creative. Yeah. So there's something where that you already been creative early on in life. I guess, is there any special instrument that you have played, or did they push you in any direction, or were you?
Yeah, sure. So I actually ended up training professionally and becoming a professional French horn player for a while. So I played in orchestras, and then I transitioned over to conducting, but I've always played the piano on the side as well. So it was a mixture of things. I guess what drew me to orchestras was a sort of group communal activity. So I guess there's a connection thing as well as a creation thing and a sort of team player thing, which has sort of shown up in various ways in my life since then as well.
Okay, that's very interesting to hear. So yeah, we have the creative side, and when you moved on, when did you get in contact with ecommerce, for example, or were there already earlier stages of some entrepreneurship which was not related to ecommerce, for example?
Yeah, I guess at about the age of 25. So I graduated, I studied this for as long as I could. So again, very untypical of your average entrepreneur, I'm afraid, who all seem to hate school. I really liked it, but in the end, I had to find a job and quite quickly realized I was going to be teaching for too long and wanting to set up a side hustle as an online entrepreneur really from about the age of 25. And it took me to the age of 40 when I discovered e-commerce before I actually started making any revenue and making any serious inroads into it, to be honest.
Okay. So what did you actually study?
Studied music, so classical music. having started with languages though, so I sort of transitioned. There's a sort of a theme of either, it'd be nice to think, like people talk about serial entrepreneurs, it'd be nice to think I'd mastered multiple disciplines, but I mean, the truth is I kind of moved as my heart dictated. I was doing languages for a while, and my heart wasn't in it, even though I had a knack for it, and that's also a connection piece, I guess. But I moved over into music because I was more passionate about it, and I guess that team spirit plus that kind of performance element was the thing that attracted me to the most.
Okay. I think this is already something which we can really go work with, and I see this pattern all the time in entrepreneurs. They either have like entrepreneurial family or something similar, or even now when I see music or some painting, there's always this creative side, or as you say, the lemonade stand. The one who's selling their milk bottles in school. For this as well exists, but there we have already the base. So. That's already something we can work with. Jason, how was it for you? Did you go to normal school? What was the family life like? Is there any big entrepreneurs already setting the way for you to make it later in life?
No entrepreneurship in my family. Grew up as a California kid. Northern California, playing in the orchards of peach orchards and that kind of thing. I guess you could say, didn't really have entrepreneurship on my brain. Went to college, I did a business degree and then an MBA. And I was actually, my whole career for the first 20 years was as a nonprofit charity worker. I worked for a large international relief and development organization. But in 1998, I heard about a guy making $1,000 a day on the internet. And I was working like 2 jobs, 3 jobs, trying to just pay the bills. And this guy was making, I heard $1,000 a day, needed somebody to help him. So I was looking for a job. So I reached out, and when I heard about his business, I was just like mesmerized. This is like the gold fever kicked in. I was like, what in the world? $1,000 a day on the internet. And this is 1998. And the way he did it was he set up one of the very first online traffic schools. So the court judges would refer traffic, ticket violators, whatever, to his online traffic school instead of going to all-day traffic school. And he only needed somebody for a few hours a week. So I didn't work for him. But literally from that day, I just was like, I've got to figure out an internet business. And that was 1998. It took me 10 full years before we launched into our own e-commerce business. And, but that was sort of what piqued my interest. But the whole time, and I ended up being in 20 years in a nonprofit management role in marketing and fundraising. But the whole time that, that idea of entrepreneurship was kicking around in my mind. Yeah.
I'm sure, because 98, I remember 98, and I'm so upset, still today. I really, because 98 as well, I've seen plenty of things. I ordered things on Amazon.com, even from Germany, and on 98, because, it was just there. Nobody knew about it, but I knew how to order it, which was already pretty amazing, 98,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm still upset about myself that I didn't thought about something that I could actually sell myself and only consume what they get me, Yes, so I completely get it. And it took me as well, a few years to figure it out, how to actually start something on the net.
Yeah.
It's, I really, like I said, people need really to go deep inside today and think about that they should do something, because if not, they're going to be like us 10 years later, sitting there and saying, oh, really, there was something and I should have done it and I didn't do it. And this is what as well I want to tell people, don't think too long. When there is something in front of you, just do it, just make it. So and for example, Michael, from there on, from your studies and everything, you moved on into normal jobs, or was there? You mentioned the jump into e-commerce very late as well.
Yeah, so I guess I did a mixture of things. So for work, I just did the a mixture of, it was mostly freelance jobs. I've been employed for I think about a year and a half in my life, and I remember one of my some mentors at music college saying to me, "You're unemployable." I think he was kind of saying that because I was late for rehearsal or something, but to a degree, I think it's kind of true. So I kind of had to be a freelancer or an entrepreneur, and I think there's a difference, by the way. We'd be lovely to talk about that at some stage. But I think I was a freelance musician. I was a freelance teacher, and not enjoying the teaching very much. I love teaching, but I only love teaching people who actually apply themselves and actually want to be there. And when you're teaching people's kids, the trumpet, which was a pretty horrible noise, that was not inspiring to me, and I knew for sure that I had to get out of that. And then all alongside that, really from exactly 1998, the same exact year, when I was really trying to create some kind of side hustle. Initially, it was all sorts of things. There's a thing called Clean Easy, where you try and sell things door to door via catalogs, very, very old school. And that was a disaster. I stopped when a dog literally sank its fingers into my index finger, which isn't great for a pianist, and I had to go to the doctor and get a tetanus injection, and various things like that. So I really was alongside the music thing, always kind of looking for a side hustle. And I guess frankly, I was looking for a quick passive income. Like, who doesn't? I guess now I realize that's probably not a real thing. I no longer look for that, but I was looking for that probably for 15 years. That's right. Yeah, conductor, I guess you call it. Yeah, orchestra conductor. Yeah, dirigente, I think in Spanish,
it's
right?
amazing,
Yeah.
because when I've seen your pictures, I was like, okay, so you've done pretty creative work. You must have very, very good ears, and I would even say leadership. Out of this must come some leadership. I mean, naturally. Obviously, if you work on it, it will be better. But naturally, to having an orchestra of 40 people listening to you exactly what to do, when to do, and everything works together in harmony. Wow, this is already something we can build easily on. If you would have known this before, I'm sure, at that point you would already have said, okay, wow, I have something big in my hands right now, but I think you didn't really realize, right?
I guess. I mean, it's hard to say really in looking back, but I would say that to come back to that leadership idea, what fascinated me about conducting is actually very transferable to the e-commerce world and the business world more generally, which is combining leadership with a very technical skill. So yeah, conducting requires reading staves and staves, so lots and lots of lines of music at the same time, and trying to pick out by ear and matching up to what you can see, what's going on, and then you've got to motivate and lead people. So that combination feels to me extremely relevant in e-commerce, where you've got to be a leader of some kind if you're going to lead a community, or lead your own team if you've got a very growing business. But at the same time, you need to combine that with technical knowledge. I mean, you can't separate the two out, because if you're not technically competent, people won't follow you, won't believe you, you won't know what's going on. You'll lead people. If you're a good leader and bad technician, you'll lead them into the darkness. And equally, if you're a technician and nobody listens to what you have to say, then you might be 100% bang on. Like the tragedy of many CPAs or accountants, right? They say very wise things, but they're very uncharismatic, so nobody listens, and then the business tanks. So I think you have to combine the two, really.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's a very amazing base, and there can only come good things out from afterwards, Yeah, for you, Jason, when you finished your the 20 years of the charitable work that you were mentioning, which is, by the way, amazing as well. And wow, it was my dream, and it's still today my dream to do something in this way as well, to help others, to help charitable organization, and to even build my own charitable organization at the point when I know it's always a thing when you say when this and if this.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
That's why I don't like to say it.
Today's the day, my man. Today's the day.
It's near, I know it's near, and I'm preparing for it. Yes, let's say it this way.
Yeah.
So
great.
What did you do afterwards straight away? How actually was your transition into entrepreneurship, into the e-commerce world?
Yeah. Well, we needed money desperately. And it was 2007, 2008. We had purchased a house in Northern California. This was, back then it was the housing crisis and that was about to ensue. And we were in a bad way. I mean, we bought a house with what we didn't understand the loan product. We weren't trying to be moguls or anything like that. We were just trying to afford a house in Northern California, used a stupid loan product, and we were in real trouble financially, and we needed money. And so I was working full time. We had 3 kids, and so it really, the only option for us was like, could my wife work part time? And rather than having her be a realtor or any other thing, we thought, well, could we try to do an online business? And so we did, but we just didn't know what to do. But we did know that she was insanely good at making doll clothing for a really popular doll called American Girl doll. And all of the moms locally from the Brownie Troop and the Girl Scouts program and stuff like that, they all would ask, where did this stuff come from? And so my wife would say, well, I made it, and I can show you how. And none of them knew how to sew. And so I thought, everybody wants this stuff so badly. Why don't we start auctioning it on eBay? And so we did that for a year, and we launched a brand. She started sewing, and we would sell, and we got really good at the auction format. And that was our foray into the world of online selling. After a year, we only had made $12,000 in sales. So $1,000 a month was our goal. And she was totally burned out. And we just, it was like, it was easy for me to do the listings and stuff like that, the eBay side of it, but it was hard for her to actually make the items. Oh, wow. And, but people wanted them, and so it was kind of like, well, there's something here, but so we didn't want to give up on it completely. But it wasn't a good model. Even though the auction items, we could get them to sell for $300, $400, $500 per doll outfit. So who knew, right? But we're like, who's buying this stuff? Like Kim Kardashian for her daughter or something like who are these people buying these stuff? But so what we decided to do in September of 2009 was she started publishing her own designs as digitally downloadable sewing patterns. And we shifted to digitally downloadables, files. And that immediately started to work. And we just got really, really focused on building a digital goods business. And it just started to scale month after month after month. And in 2013, we migrated to Shopify. In 2014, Shopify featured us. And it really kind of blew up my own writing and speaking and consulting work, to be honest. And the article was like how one couple makes $600,000 a year selling digital goods on Shopify. And everybody, the comments were like, no way, that's not true. You guys are full of it. And I would just answer the questions in the comments. And Shopify put that article into their welcome sequence for new Shopify store.
See, like owners. I'm the lady with the...
and it just blew up. And so I just kept answering questions. So, and ultimately our business, it's called Pixie Fair. People can go look at it. We've done 2.7 million transactions through our Shopify store. Our e-commerce conversion rate in the last month was 19%, which no one believes. I mean, it's not, our numbers are just very, very different than a normal e-commerce business because it's all digital goods. And we've just grown from there. So we have a catalog of about 3,000 digitally downloadable files. We have about 50 online courses. And then we have a monthly recurring membership program called Sewing with Cinnamon. It has about 1,000 people in it right now. And that's the business we built. And then we started our own charity, actually, coming back to sort of my roots. So Pixie Fair is our website, and then sopowerful.org is our charity. And we do sewing related program work in Zambia. Okay. And so we've built sort of a unique, weird little business that is just not really relevant to most people. But it's the sewing industry is not a small industry, and most people who aren't familiar with it and don't know anything about it kind of write it off. But it's like any other niche or hobby or craft. It's like, there's a huge, universe of people who love it and are devoted to the topic. And so that's kind of what we've done.
I think it's amazing, because I looked at the website myself, checked it out before, and I immediately understood what you're doing. But, I was thinking like, that's brilliant, because it's exactly, if we put it on other businesses, it's exactly what other businesses are looking for, who do manual work and who say like, we cannot anymore, we're exhausted. Even if you have 100 employees, They cannot follow up anymore, you know? So what you're going to do? Exactly what you did. Go in digital. Getting a software, subscribing people, for example, you know, versus your creation versus another company which have software. Sign up subscribers. You get, instead of doing the manual work, you get 800 subscribers or 900,000 subscribers, you know, which give you $20 per month, for example. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in your case, digital downloads, and you all got it figured out. It's, for me, it's brilliant. It's very long-term thinking, because people can make their own creations. They can make their own colors. They can, there is so many things to it. And on top of it, you give courses. That means, and this is what I always try to teach as well, and make people understand, when they see all this e-commerce, when somebody is new to business or to entrepreneurship, I tell them, listen, don't think about the money. Think about making a brand. Don't think about just selling some stuff from Alibaba and drop ship it somewhere else. No, it's, you know, it's really, you are the best example again, you know, it's
thank you. Yeah.
Follow your passion, create a brand out of it.
Yeah.
And really, you see, it's natural what you're doing. It's the design, the courses, because your wife loves what you're doing the content. It just plays one on one. You don't have to think so far, you know, like people, oh, I need to do money, I need to do this, I need to do, no, it's, everything is very low. It's the low hanging fruits, which are the most important. So we are in a time of age where we cannot anymore, like in 2004, 2003, just go to Alibaba and purchase anything that I want and put it on Amazon, just sell it. No, it's not anymore like this. I mean, it was never a good thinking this way, because it was always about a brand and about a purpose.
Right. Yeah, no, totally agree. Just an hour ago, I was having a conversation with a guy who's selling his business, and it's a digital goods business. It's in the fitness space.
Okay.
And he's getting a good valuation for it, and he's built a great business. I mean, there are niches. If you find the appropriate way in which to create a digital goods business, then they look obvious and they look easy once you see them.
Yes.
But when you aren't in that space, like when you don't have the idea, when you don't have the niche or the topic, it is obviously very, very frustrating and difficult. And so it does take time and thoughtfulness to figure out, can you create a digital goods business for a certain audience, a niche community? And if you can, then how do you build that business? And there's a lot of opportunity there. Sure.
I mean, what people do all the time is they're judging. They say, yeah, listen, this, he's there now, he makes so and so much money. But you know what they don't forget is that it has been in the making for so long, you know.
Yeah.
It's don't come from today or tomorrow. It's the same as for training, for combat sports. It's not overnight that you're going to be a master. It takes, everything takes time, you know. And people, most of them, don't want to put this time in anymore. But like when you're passionate, like yourself or other people who in the same type of business, they don't see the time goes by, you know, and suddenly you realize, whoa, I do this since 10 years. Same for me. I love what I do, you know. So it's been 10 years now, and I turned around, I didn't even see the years. So this is the good thing about it, you know. And you know, it's just the passion, and you need to love what you do, and then everything is great, you know. Do you agree as well, Michael? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I guess. First of all, it's just hearing Jason's story again, fresh, because obviously we talk to each other every week for the podcast, but it's so impressive what you guys have achieved. I do think that my understanding of Jason's story is maybe it's a very good model for the fact that there's a confluence of factors. I mean, following passion kind of matters, but also I guess in Jason's case and in my case as well, there's a necessity, there's an urgency about it that forces you to take it seriously. And I think also, like Jason's wife Cinnamon, who I've met, lovely lady, clearly incredibly gifted and passionate about what she does. But also, I think the critical factor is, if you're passionate about something that people won't pay for, that's not a business. It could be a charity. And again, I take my hat off to you for your charitable endeavors. It's extraordinary. You do all of that stuff. But that's a different matter. And I would say also, there has to be somebody who's passionate about buying the stuff, or at least somebody else who's passionate. So I guess there has to be a few factors that come together at the same time. And I think that's the thing, that to your point, Jason, of mindfulness, thoughtfulness, exploring, I think that coming together of those different factors, that's the piece that can take a lot of exploring to find.
That's right. And I like to tell the Amazon sellers who blow up really fast and like, oh, I've only been doing it for 2 years and we, 600,000 in sales. I'm like, you guys, for our first year, we had $12,000 in sales. And our second year, guess how much sales we had? $12,000. We didn't grow at all for 2 whole years. So the thing about it is, if you guys have heard of Robert Ronstadt and the corridor principle, who's a professor who has this idea, basically that the idea is, as entrepreneurs, as you begin down your journey, you see doors open like you're going down a corridor. And the first initial steps might be ugly. They might be painful. They might be slow, and they might be unproductive and unprofitable. But you're on your journey. You're stepping into your entrepreneurship with a creativity in mind and a thoughtfulness about how to serve people. Then new doors will open to you, and you will find a better and better business model and a better and better product suite, better and better ways to do selling. And if you're got your head on right, you'll look for these opportunities and you'll see them as you continue to push forward. And so where you start is not where you end. And I think that's important for everybody who's starting out to realize.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Michael, when you finished the university, and when you went into the business and the e-commerce business, what was your first step? I mean, how did you begin, and what are you doing today? How was that journey for you?
Well, I mean, first of all, I really like this corridor principle that Jason has mentioned. I think it's really true. I feel like I'm still somewhat, moving down the corridor, opening doors, and each one is moving. I don't know if that's even the right metaphor, but so after university, it took a long, long time before any kind of business side hustle worked whatsoever. I tried, I mentioned some very old school things I was doing in 1998. I wasn't as advanced as you. I hadn't heard of Amazon.com. I wasn't trying that stuff online yet. But I guess by about 2007, I started getting training in online marketing because I was fascinated by it, and I thought it could be, a great side hustle. And one thing I would say that I learned from that is I worked from 2007 to about 2014 with people teaching me to market myself online as a coach, and kind of completely failed to market myself online as a coach. And I just thought, well, that was a lot of wasted money. And if I'd been with a wife at the time, she would have naturally given me a hard time for spending money that didn't result in any income. But now fast forward to 2015 and through to today, all of that stuff, not only has it actually given me, good income and a lot of fun being an Amazon coach or consultant or whatever you want to call it, e-commerce consultant, I guess these days is what I would peg myself as. That has actually been practically very useful, but also because I got a wider view of internet marketing than the very narrow Amazon echo chamber, as it's sometimes called by those who are wise enough to see it as, a narrow way of saying it. Then actually it's meant that I brought a ton of marketing concepts to bear, which are kind of sometimes new even these days to Amazon sellers, like the idea of really obsessing about customer avatar research, which is kind of marketing 101, but on Amazon, because you just don't see the end consumer. I mean, Amazon knows everything about them, including their inside leg measurement. But as Amazon sellers, we don't get that information. Therefore, we tend to obsess if we're not careful with just keyword research. And that is important, but it's only a third or quarter of the picture. So I guess what I would say from all of that, one of the lessons is that just because something doesn't pay off for even years doesn't mean it won't pay off. It doesn't mean it won't pay off big time. That's been one of my learnings from my journey. The other thing is I would say that I think I'm gradually transitioning through various relationships to e-commerce towards what I think is going to be my best way of serving people, which is I'm really these days a connector of people. I'm not necessarily, frankly, a physical product centered guy. I certainly love good products. If you've been in Germany, they make the best products in the world. I love good products. I'm using a Canon lens right now to look through you. It's probably made by Zeiss or somebody, and I've got an iMac that we're using. I love good products, but I'm not the guy to make them. But I love connecting sellers with each other and forming communities. And I love the podcast like yourself, connecting experts. And that is actually where I think I've added the most value to my clients' lives, and where I see myself actually being the best me and the best for my consumers and clients. And so I think, to Jason's very valid point, the corridor principle, I think I'm still iterating quite fast through this stuff. And I think that sort of ties in with the fact that we're in a very fast changing market. Amazon third party selling was an incredible opportunity when I got in 2015. Fast forward to 2021, the profit gap is closing as they charge more and more for the cost of advertising. So it could be that in 3 years' time there is no business opportunity there for the small business owner, maybe even quicker, which means we're all going to have to pivot. And I think, having pivoted myself, and in position to help others do the same thing as well.
Yes, I agree with that. We never know where Amazon is going to heading. The latest changes with the stock was a hit for everyone as well. So we don't know what they're gonna pull out next. That's why I always try to teach people as well to diversify, to not only sell on Amazon, to go anywhere else. Sometimes even but Amazon, so.
Yeah, here's what I would say. Amazon hits you with an uppercut to the chin with like the IPI, the inventory performance index, i.e. you can suddenly store, maybe for some people, 50% of the storage capacity you had yesterday.
Yes.
It was an extraordinary blow to the face. But I would also say the much bigger danger is the frog that's in the water that boils gradually and you don't notice the temperature rising until it's too late, which is the Amazon ads keep creeping up. So that is that is the bigger danger. Actually, you need to look for the longer term trends, not just the obvious stuff, and that's the stuff to look out for.
I have to point out that obviously, Michael, your current role that you love the most is being the orchestrator or the conductor. You're pulling together business people, and your mastermind group in London is fantastic. It's a very cool group. It's been an honor to speak at it, and it's you went back to your roots in a way. I
think I did. I think leading a group where everyone has to depend on each other a little bit more, like a sort of, I don't know, I guess like the Marines mentality. I don't have any military background, but the orchestra sort of, or choir, is quite a similar thing. And I think just it's a bit like herding cats with entrepreneurs, but it can be done. And I know that, Jason, you've actually started doing that as well. So that's very, very cool. That hopefully, influenced you a bit into that, doing that, because I think it is a very cool way of operating. And I guess in the end, what I would say from both of us is that you end up, as to your point, Emma, you end up doing what is natural to you anyway. So you might as well make a virtue of it and leverage it for somebody else's benefit. I'm a natural conductor. You're, a natural, you brought all this marketing passion for the internet that you have been wanting to do for, 10 years, to your wife's natural ability to, create wonderful designs. And in the end, you do what you do, and if you try and twist yourself out of shape, that's another error that I see.
Two more questions for you. Before we close this down, what does motivate you? Why are you doing this? Why are you getting up at, I don't know, at what time, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning? What is your motivation? Michael or Jason, whoever wants to begin.
Jason, you go first, because you got up at 5 in the morning for this one.
I do get up at 5 in the morning every day. What motivates me? It's a great question. I think, I'm a learner at heart. And I really, really love learning new processes, new techniques, new strategies. I'm a reader. I'm a writer. I like to understand and condense information. And e-commerce is just a perfect playground for that, isn't it? I mean, it's just like you're constantly learning new things. You're constantly trying new things. It's always an experiment. And I think that's sort of at the core of what I like to do. I feel like I'm a teacher at heart as well. So really, honestly, I spend an hour a week on Pixie Fair with my wife, and I'm a part of her weekly team meeting, and we talk about the business, but really it's her business at this point. And then I have, e-commerce consulting company that I've now, started 3 years ago and is scaling. And so I love to teach people. I have to help people. I think the service work that we do through our charity is an expression of us trying to help others and to really give back in a way that's meaningful. And the job creation process is core to our charity as well. And so I think those are the things that drive me a lot. And then, of course, family and faith and, participating in our local community. Yeah.
Sounds good. You mentioned a consulting business. You running a consulting business as well on top of that. Can you give us the website just now? I'm going to put it just now later on under the video.
Yep, sure, happy to do it. Right now our domain is winningOnShopify.com.
Okay.
And but we're going to rebrand here soon. So, but it'll always redirect. So winningOnShopify.com is great. And then MrJasonMiles.com is my author page with links to products and consulting
amazing.
and such.
This will be in the video by the time we speak.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, that sounds really good. And Michael, what is your daily motivation? What gets you up in the morning? Maybe at 4 o'clock. I don't know.
So I've got to admit, I'm going to be devastatingly honest. I mean, first of all, I love Jason's answer. A lot of those things apply to me, but I would say, first of all, I don't get up early in the morning. I'm a late kind of person. Maybe it's being a musician. My body clock sets to late. So, maybe I need to change that. But maybe you just need to work when you're motivated, I think, and when your body clock works. But frankly, there's two types of motivation: inspiration and desperation. I've been motivated by both at different times. When I do desperation, what happens is that I either buy products from Alibaba I shouldn't be buying and sell them in a sort of push way, and it doesn't work very well, or I attract and keep clients that frankly I should not be working with because they were never going to get great value from what I can offer, not because I'm not sweating buckets to try and help them, because they were never really helpable in the first place. For whatever reason, they're not in the right position, they're not really committed to the business model. When I'm inspired, like Jason, I love learning stuff. It's kind of a fun game. It's a bit like why I like chess, or why I like playing the piano and deciphering notes, or why I like looking at scores. I like complexity. Sometimes I fall in love with it, and then Jason is a fantastic person to talk to simplify things down to actionable things. But equally, I can do the same for my clients, and I really like taking a complex problem, listening to it, diagnosing what's happening, and then trying to put my finger on the main, diagnose it down to a few simple components that underlie the problem, and then putting my finger on which is going to move the needle the most. And that's an exciting process. And I think you can do that in your own business. It makes you a better business owner. But as a consultant, I also enjoy doing that for other people's businesses as well. So I guess that's what gets me up in the morning, is learning new stuff. And I love the podcast because I get to speak to incredibly bright people. Like I was just speaking to a guy with a doctorate from Berkeley, who spent 40 years consulting for the US government and the military and this and that, and he's written a great book about Amazon. So we pulled apart what's behind the Amazon business model the other day. That's a lot of fun intellectually. So those are my motivations on a good day. Bad day, desperation. Good day, inspiration. I recommend the latter.
Okay, that sounds awesome. I mean, yeah, motivation is super important to understand why everyone is motivated as well. And here we go as well with the last questions. What is your message to the world? I mean, we have the time, COVID times, everything is a bit upside down. Some people try to do business. Some people make a real good business out of this COVID situation. Some are very desperate. What would be your message in order to grow, or in order to do a business right now, or in order to do it better?
I'll go first.
Or Jason.
Oh, yeah, sure. What is my message for people who are interested in growing a business? I would say there's a spectrum of analysis on one end and dumb action on the other end. And your constant goal is to try to find the tension in the middle. Some people overanalyze to death and never take action. Other people take foolish action that is unwise, unprofitable, and waste of time and energy. And so there's this tension. And I think for each of us, we have to find that appropriate sweet spot in the middle, that zone of highly productive energy. And I would say to operate in that zone of effectiveness and continue to challenge your own thinking to figure out where you're making mistakes of overanalysis and overthinking, or mistakes of overaction and inappropriate, too quick in terms of pulling the trigger on stuff. And I would just say it's a learning process. We all have to learn about ourselves as we explore these business ideas, and it's a blast. So jump in and start learning.
Yeah, the process is the best. I agree. Michael, what is your take?
So that's quite, I guess I was trying to get a lot of different messages across, but let me just say a couple of things that really come out of my work with those who are starting in the early stages of business. And I've only seen really the Amazon focus and to some degree e-commerce in a wider sense, but I think it's probably true in the broader sense. First of all, Desperation is one, or away from motivation, gets you into action quickly, but it tends to fade as you move away from the problem. And what that tends to lead to is shiny object syndrome. So you get very excited about Amazon, somebody paid me for 3 months of coaching, and then on the 4th month they'll get bored and they'll move off to something else. That's probably not the way you're going to build anything significant. There's nothing wrong with reacting to the desperation, whether in my case to get away from teaching, and Jason Cinnamon's case to get away from the mortgage payments. But you have to have it towards motivation as well. You have to have some kind of vision that keeps you in motion as well. To that end, I would say the second point is, so it's a sort of three-parter. I don't like simplicity. Sorry, I'm bad at simple. The second thing is trying to serve other people as well as yourself. If you're just out to make money, it smells like that. The audience will pick up on it. We have sophisticated consumers now out in every space, especially Amazon. So they will sense if you're out to just make a buck for yourself and then run away with a worthless guarantee versus you stand behind your product. You want to serve a particular audience really seriously, and you're going to be there for the duration. And even if you're not in the end there for duration, if you're going in not even intending to be there for the duration, you're guaranteeing failure. You've got to have some potential future. And the last thing I would say is really simple. Incredibly simple, but incredibly easy to overlook, particularly in the Amazon space. Don't run your business for revenue, and don't target revenue growth. It's completely meaningless. I'm gone from it's not a good plan to it's completely meaningless. And the more I'm around Amazon sellers, some people do $1 million a year and make 5% profit, and that's just makes me cry inside. Target profit and then target profit growth is the only meaningful growth.
Thank you so much for having you both, having your opinion, having your experience. And yeah, the value what we got out of this is amazing, and I'm sure the audience, your audience, my audience will be happy with that. And yeah, thank you so much. It was a blast, and I hope we can speak to each other again, maybe at a seller conference. Let's hope for the best that this COVID is it's giving us more opportunities. And yeah, we see ourselves. We still can travel. It's not that bad, but we keep it simple at the moment. And hope I can see you both in person at some point.
Well, Omar, it's an honor to be able to be on the show. Really appreciate it a lot. Of course, shameless plug, if you want to check out more about Michael and I's conversations, we also have a podcast, The E-commerce Leader. ecommerceleader.com is the website, and then the podcast name. So we'd love to have people check that out as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, just absolutely right. And delighted to be asked. Thank you so much for getting us on. It's always good fun to talk with somebody different, and it makes a change to be interviewed. I must have interviewed about sort of 450 interviews in my time for the podcast, so it's nice to be the other way around. And absolutely look forward to seeing you in sunny Spain, and I guess we should all make a date to convene there. That sounds like a superb idea.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Then have a nice day. Have a nice evening, Michael. Have a nice day, Jason. And speak to you later.